Hello everyone, this is Kat and welcome back to My Hero Academia Podfics. This will be the continuation of Yuuei Survival Guide. This will be part 36, chapter 36. Izuku's a little on edge after that night with his guardians. Nothing changes, not in a way he can see, but he still can't help but feel like something's going to happen. That heavy weight in your chest where something's going on, but you don't know what. He knows Shota had met his mother, and he knows that she always has a tendency to keep his oddness a secret to protect herself from embarrassment. She'd always just brushed his weirdness off with a laugh when someone would point it out, and she never brought it up herself. She just liked to pretend that everything was normal, that he was normal. Ignorance is bliss. He'd known that early on when she'd shush him at the park or grocery store before looking around like Izuku even mentioning something she couldn't see, like a woman who'd smiled and waved at him, would instantly make everyone judge them. No one ever cared. No one ever even noticed them. He'd never truly understood why she always felt like they were being watched and judged by anyone in the vicinity, when no one cares what a child randomly prattles on about. He even remembers her grabbing his hand when he'd gone to wave back at the woman that day, sporting a wide smile because people aren't particularly kind to him. His mother had laughed nervously when she'd noticed him, eyes flicking around despite the empty aisle as she leaned close and hissed a light, "No waving at the cereal, sweetheart, remember?" The woman in the cereal aisle had frowned, eyeing his mother, and Izuku was tugged away by his hand. He still managed to wave over his shoulder that the woman returned fondly. He'd always known that she thought he was weird. He'd always known that she even knew that he'd never really gotten better. Even when he didn't talk about ghosts or anything close, she was wary of him, separated herself from him. He'd never understood. Even when he was trying to be normal, she never changed. Izuku wonders now what she really would have told Shota. Would she mention the ghost? It had always been a secret, one she kept close to her heart, because she wanted to be normal. She wanted them to be normal, the two of them, single mother and son. The Bakugo family and his doctors, growing up, had been the only ones to know about his problems, but they all just thought he was delusional. For a long while, growing up, even he had thought he was delusional, even though he knew they were real. He'd never felt more isolated from his mother and family and friends, as well as the ghosts that he'd tried to tell himself didn't exist. But they did. He can't pretend they didn't. He tried. It always felt wrong to ignore them, ghosts or not. They were still people, right? He craved human interaction. His quirklessness hadn't been a problem for desperate ghosts that he'd encountered through day-to-day life. They treated him like a normal person, and that's more than the living people did after he was diagnosed. Maybe that's why Izuku's never seen a problem with the ghosts. They tended to have more humanity behind them than the living did. He'd even met a few ghosts from the pre-quirk era, which is amazing, if you think about it. Still, his mother only really told Auntie and Uncle so that she'd have someone to talk to about Izuku. He doesn't know if all parents gossip about their kids to their friends. Well, he supposes some might brag about their kids, but his mother never really had anything to brag about. Izuku doesn't know if that came up in the interrogation. He doesn't know what she would have said in the interview, even if it had come up. What she would have told Shota. He wonders if she would have thrown him under the bus to clear her own name. She'd never once entertained the idea that he could really see ghosts, no matter how many times he told her exactly what he was seeing, so he's pretty sure that she wouldn't have mentioned that part of his supposed delusions. She'd always just jumped straight to him being delusional and sick in the head. His guardians haven't said anything, though, haven't acted any differently toward him since that night, but there's still a chance. His mother had pretended for 15 years, after all. What's stopping Shota and Hisashi from doing the same? From pretending everything's all right when they're scared of him? He clears the thought by drawing anxious fingers through his curls. He tries to focus back down on his homework, but knows that he won't be making much progress when his head's not in the right place. Plus, he wouldn't want to hand anything in that he didn't give his all on. His grades suffered greatly when he did that, while he'd been working at the cafe. Izuku blows out a breath and he leans back in his chair. He throws an arm over his eyes and sighs heavily into the material of his sweatshirt sleeve. "Izuku!" Izuku turns toward the direction of the voice, not bothering to move his arms. That's obstructing his view. It's not like he needs to move anyways to identify that familiar voice that hadn't been there a second ago, which also doesn't need to open the door at all. "Yeah? There's a surprise!" The ghost chirps excitedly. "Huh?" Izuku finally lets his arm fall, hands flattening along the edge of his desk. "What surprise? Hang on, weren't you with Shota? I thought he had a meeting that you wanted to stalk." "First of all, I observe, not stalk. You're rude." The ghost scoffs with a pout, but for one single second before the wide smile is back. But yes, I was, and because I was there, I know that there's a surprise. It's for you mostly, but I think the rest of 1A will like it too. Izuku blinks at that. For me, but my class will like it too? Well, the ghost huffs as he crosses his arms over his chest dramatically. Not technically for you, but I know you'll like it. Just, shh, come on, stop asking questions and just come with me. To the common area. You'll like it. Come on, come on. Shota's on his way back. The ghost ushers him in a strange way that doesn't touch Izuku at all. Since moving into the dorms, Izuku had tried to enforce a no-touching rule on school grounds. He doesn't want to risk any quirk accidents where there's nothing around to blame, even if he and Oboro had gotten a lot better at controlling their quirks through trial and error. All right, all right. Izuku snorts out an amused breath, standing after the ghost as he slides his hands into the pocket of his All Might sweatshirt. Oboro is grinning so widely that his eyes are showing it. I'm coming. He breathes out a light laugh as the ghost, bouncing on his feet in excitement, phases through the door the same way he'd come in. He usually likes to wait for Izuku to open the door, so he must be really excited. The green-haired boy shakes his head as he opens his dorm door. School had ended a couple hours ago, but it's still a few hours until curfew. The common area is mostly empty, well, besides where Kaminari's passed out on the couch. He'd been there since just after school had ended, though, after he tried to break his record of charging 10 of the classmates' phones at once and completely wore himself out. He was very close to short-circuiting, and Izuku's sure that he would have if Kirishima hadn't handed him the 11th phone. Izuku sits quietly on the other end of the couch, glancing fondly at Kaminari before focusing on his phone while he waits. He watches some videos with the volume on low to not disturb his sleeping classmate. When Oboro returns from where Izuku suspects he'd been checking on Shota's arrival status, the ghost leans on the back of the couch and watches over Izuku's shoulder. They only end up watching for a couple of minutes before Izuku hears the door open and there's voices talking, Shota and... is that Hitoshi? Surprise! The ghost mock whispers, grin widening when Izuku glances back at him. What? Problem child. Izuku jerks his attention to where Shota and Hitoshi are stood in the doorway, both watching Izuku. The teen on the couch pockets his phone and swallows, swatting uselessly at the air over his shoulder, wishing he could hit the ghost. He gives the uncle-nephew duo a sheepish smile as he settles the hand that he'd been waving against the back of his neck and rubs awkwardly. Sorry. Izuku bows his head apologetically, if only to apologize for being weird. I heard a fly. Annoying little things, aren't they? Oboro squawks in offense behind him, and it takes Izuku's entire self-restraint to not turn and see the face that the ghost is making. That'll raise more questions, though, so he keeps his eyes on his guardian and friend. Hitoshi looks amused, eyes flickering between the couch like he's looking for Oboro, while Shota just sort of looks tired. The underground hero regards the teen at his side, then slowly looks toward Izuku before his attention flicks to Kaminari's slightly snoring frame. The underground hero visibly bites back another sigh as he nods towards Kaminari. Do I even want to know? Well, actually, Shota cuts him off fondly, eyes flicking from the blonde to the green-haired teen. Just tell me whether or not he needs to see Recovery Girl. I won't ask why he's passed out on the couch if the answer is no. No, Izuku laughs softly. He's just asleep. He was pushing his limits, but he didn't short-circuit. Shota's quiet for a second before his face settles into one of a deadpan. How many? Izuku snorts a laugh, glancing fondly at Kaminari. 10, almost 11. It's hilarious that Shota knows them all well enough to know exactly what they would have gotten up to in his absence, and how he knew exactly how Kaminari had almost overused his quirk from nothing more than Izuku's not very explanatory explanation. This is why I can never leave you gremlins alone. Shota does sigh now, deep and heavy as he rubs at his eyes. As long as he's okay. Hopefully he doesn't completely ruin his sleep schedule by napping so late in the evening. Last thing I need is a tired Kaminari during heroics tomorrow. One to talk. Oboro scoffs, once again leaning against the back of the couch on crossed arms. Izuku doesn't need to look back to know that the ghost has one ankle kicked up over his calf as he leans. The ghost's words surprised Izuku because he wasn't expecting them. He bites his tongue to keep from letting out a squeak of laughter. Nah, Uncle Sho. Hitoshi teases with a plain expression. It sounds like you actually like your 1A class. Cute. You're ruining your hard-ass reputation, you know. The purple-haired teen pauses, glancing at Izuku, then Kaminari. Also, I have no idea what you're talking about. Is this a 1A thing? I won't understand? It's like middle school all over again. Shota turns to glare down at the sharply grinning Hitoshi. I will return you, brat. No takesies backsies. Hitoshi waggles a finger. I'm wounded, Uncle Sho, truly. You fought so hard for me, and now you're threatening to give me back? Waste of efforts and illogical. This was a mistake. Shota huffs, crossing his arms over his chest as his shoulders slump. I regret my decision. I should expel you, and I would do just that if it wasn't for the fact that I was terrified of what your mother would do if I did. Well, it can't be any worse than the time that you lost me at the park. Hitoshi snorts a laugh as he playfully bumps his shoulder against his uncle's arm. She didn't even talk to you for like an entire week. That's after she beat me with her shoe. Shota agrees with a grimace. I've been stabbed before, and I can honestly say that being impaled hurt less than your mother's whacking me with her rubber slippers. Rubber slippers hurt far worse than you think they would. I wouldn't know. Hitoshi shrugs. She's never hit me. Because you're the baby, Shota snarks. That used to be me, you know. It's all right to abuse her little brother, but she'd never aim to hurt her baby, no matter what. Stupid and reckless shit you pull. Tricking a dangerous villain with your quirk, which you currently have literally no right to use, for example. To emphasize his point, Shota snakes a hand out to playfully pinch Hitoshi's cheek. The purple-haired teen swats him away with a glare. You're sounding a little jealous there, Uncle Sho. Shota lightly plants a hand on the side of Hitoshi's face, pushing the teen away from him by his head. The teen wobbles as he tries to steady himself, straightening with a sharper yet playful glare. You lost Hitoshi? Izuku asks with a cocked eyebrow. He's also trying to imagine Yuuei hitting Shota with a rubber slipper. She always seems so kind. He's not sure that he can really picture it. He doesn't doubt it happened, but he can't imagine it. Hitoshi wandered away. Shota shakes his head. I don't know why I was blamed entirely for 4-year-old Hitoshi deciding that he wanted to go to the shops across the street for ice cream. He was old enough to know to stay with me, plus I would have taken you. You obviously could have used your quirk on me back then, too, but no. Hitoshi wanted to be independent and give his uncle a stroke. Look, Hitoshi huffs in defense. If you found a 1,000-yen note on the ground, you'd want ice cream, too. It's either very poor planning to put an ice cream shop across from the park, or it's genius marketing. Definitely caught little me's eye. Besides, you can't really blame me for you not paying attention. You were in a slide the last time I saw you, brat. Shota snorts in offense. I don't even know which end that you disappeared through. I should have known then, after that Houdini act, that you'd make a good underground hero. Hitoshi pauses thoughtfully before letting out a humored laugh. Right. I forgot about that. That's where I found the 1,000 yen. It was at the bottom of the slide. How'd you find Hitoshi? Izuku asks as he bites back a laugh. He found me. Shota shakes his head in exasperation. Walked right up beside me, holding a melted mess of a rainbow-swirled ice cream that was everywhere. Then he had the nerve to ask me what I was looking for. I should have left you at the park. Hitoshi snorts a laugh into his own hand, looking torn between pride and embarrassment. He glances sideways at Shota before straightening up and crossing his arms over his chest. His lips still twitch upwards into a smile even as he tries to keep his expression blank. If you found him, Izuku's voice wavers with a poorly contained laugh. How did his mom find out? The brat tattled on me. Shota scoffs, glaring sideways at Hitoshi. Hardly even made it through the door before telling her that he crossed the street all by himself. Not to mention that he was still covered in melted ice cream, which I also got in trouble for. My life flashed before my eyes. I still don't even know how she got her shoe off so fast. Neither Izuku nor Hitoshi can hold in their laughs, and even Oboro is snickering behind Izuku. Shota narrows his eyes at the two of them, glancing between them. Still, despite how he tries to keep his expression neutral, he does end up cracking a small smile that he bites back just as fast as it appeared. Wait, as excited as I am to see you, Hitoshi, Izuku pauses, looking between the uncle and guardian. What are you doing here? You don't usually come to the 1A dorms, and I was just wondering what's happening? Surprise! The ghost whispers excitedly behind Izuku for the second time, and once again the teen twitches to look back at him. He would ask Oboro not to talk when Shota's around if it wasn't so mean. He'd rather his guardian think that he's weird than limit Oboro's already limited ability to interact with him. You'll love this. Izuku keeps his attention on the two in front of him, even as he wants to look back at Oboro. It's really Hitoshi's news to share. Shota shrugs, shoulder slumping as he glances sideways at his nephew. There'll be a class announcement later, but for now he can tell whoever he'd like, and I've got some paperwork to fill out, so Izuku, would you mind giving Toshi a tour of the dorms? Oh, Izuku cocks his head in confusion. Of course not. I don't mind, but... Good. The man's lips twitch into a smile. Saves me the trouble. you both know where to find me. Come see me after you're finished with the tour. It's not much different from the Gen Ed dorms, but familiarize yourself with the space. I've inspected Minetta's old room, briefly, but just let me know if there's any problems with it. Sure. Hitoshi nods casually, tucking his hands into the pockets of his black hoodie. Izuku glances between the two in confusion. Okay, let's go then, Toshi. I'll show you around. And I'll tell you why, while you're doing it. The purple-haired teen snickers. Izuku gives a nod, standing from the couch. Hitoshi crosses the floor to join him in the living area of the common room, as Shota turns swiftly and disappears in the direction of the elevator. Well, Izuku chews on his bottom lip, gesturing around him. This, obviously, is the common area. We're all pretty comfortable with each other. It's not uncommon to find someone sleeping out here. Just, we all try to be respectful when it happens. The kitchen's right over here. We do class movie nights sometimes, and meals together most nights. There's a cooking schedule, too. We all divvy up the chores. I think Sensei's right. About the layouts being similar, at least. It's pretty open floor plan, so you shouldn't have much problem finding your way. Whenever you're here. There's an elevator up to the dorms, and most of us just use the stairs since it's faster. Looks just like ours. Hitoshi nods, keeping pace with Izuku as he heads toward the stairs. I don't think it'll change much, Izuku tells him, holding the stairwell door open for Hitoshi to go through. All the dorm buildings look fairly uniform, so it's a given, and the insides would look pretty similar as well. Right. Hitoshi nods. The purple-haired teen pauses as they trek up the stairs, looking around them before turning to Izuku. So, did Ro move into this place with you and my uncles? Or I never knew if he was really an apartment ghost, or if he's like a people ghost. Are you, haunted, or is the apartment itself haunted? He's here. Izuku gestures to where Oboro had skipped the stairs and was waiting at the top of the current flight. He's definitely a people ghost. The apartment is just so stuffy, you know? Yeah, Izuku huffs with a dismissive wave of his hand. You're a big liar. We both know you just like human interaction. Oh, wow. He really is here right now. Hitoshi glances around again, like the knowledge of the ghost being here will suddenly change the stairwell. His eyes drift to where Izuku had gestured, eyes narrowing thoughtfully. Hey, Ro. It's been a while. Someone appreciates my presence. Oboro pouts, waving at Hitoshi, despite the fact that he is invisible. He says hi, Izuku translates as he continues up the stairs. Well, he waved, I guess, and whined a little, but the sentiment's there. He's happy you're here. I was not whining. Oboro's pout puckers into an even more dramatic one. You're so mean, Izuchan. I do not pout. Bold for someone pouting to say. Izuku teases, settling at the top stair beside Oboro as he waits for Hitoshi to catch up. Oboro glares half-heartedly at Izuku, nose wrinkling in offense. I'm kidding. You totally didn't pout. He's the toughest of men, Toshi. Hitoshi snickers into his hand, glancing at Izuku's side like he can see the ghost there. You say that about the secret romance novel-loving softy? Well, he likes the romance films too, Izuku adds with a laugh, ignoring the way Oboro squawks in betrayal. You two can't bully me when I can't defend myself to both of you, Oboro accuses, but he does laugh a little. You've got to translate for me better, Izuku. This is teaming up, and it's rude, and everyone has their own guilty pleasures. Tell Toshi. Izuku laughs at Oboro before turning to look at Hitoshi. He says it's a guilty pleasure. What are you guilty for, Ro? Hitoshi cocks his head as a sharp smile curls onto his lips. The rated stuff? You know, I don't like your friends, Oboro huffs dramatically. The ghost eyes Hitoshi before letting out a good-natured laugh. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a good romance novel. They're cute. You're just mad that you can't land a date, Toshi. I used to be so popular with the ladies, so now I live vicariously through the characters. We're just teasing, Izuku consoles, even though he knows the ghost is playing just as much. Still, his words are a warning for Hitoshi that they've hit their limit. He doesn't want to be mean, even if Oboro can take a joke. Pushing too far isn't something Izuku wants to do. I like a good rom-com too sometimes, and you watched that new one with us, Toshi, so we can't really bully him too much. Yeah, all right. Hitoshi gives a light laugh. It was a pretty good movie. Not my usual type, but it was good. A bit sappy at the end, though. It was not sappy. You're just uncultured. Okay. Izuku calls the tension back. Let's get back to the tour before Shota thinks that we got lost in the building. I've been living here for weeks, and I'd never hear the end of that. Plus, some of my classmates are in the dorms, so let's not disturb them. I know that Todoroki's probably working on his homework right now, and I think Kirishima's in his room, too. You're in charge. Hitoshi shrugs as he follows after Izuku. So, which one's yours? Izuku leads Hitoshi down the line of doors. There are only 4 dorms on this floor, but he tells the purple-haired teen who lives where, and he's not sure Hitoshi really has met most of 1A, but he tells the other teen which floor everyone lives on just in case the information is useful to him. He doesn't tour him around on each individual floor, though, since he's not as familiar with the floors in the boys' dorms. He doesn't go too often. He rarely visits the girls' side of the dorms. He still tells Hitoshi which girls are on each floor, though. "This is my room," Izuku tells him, pushing his own door open. His homework is scattered across his desk, and Oboro's book of the week is on the bed from that morning where he'd read while Izuku had gotten ready. All the dorms look like this, just most are more personalized. I don't have a lot of stuff, and there's 3 bedrooms I go between, so it's sparsely decorated. "Wow, we need to get you some stuff," Hitoshi decides after peering into the room. "I thought your room at the apartment was bland. Do I even want to see how little personality the room upstairs has? How have my uncles let you live in a school brochure dorm room?" "Probably not," Izuku snorts a laugh. "And they don't mind if I don't mind." He's not embarrassed or anything. He just doesn't have much stuff, and what he does have is hero-themed, which, well, he's found that after having his whole world shifted upside down, collectibles aren't the most important things in the world, though he still adores his collection, and he's glad to have gotten it back. Maybe he just doesn't want to get too comfortable anywhere again. It would kill him to have to pack up his stuff a second time around. Hitoshi gives an unamused look as he steps back, letting Izuku shut the door after them. He seems to have decided to let it go for now. "So, the room beside you is the empty dorm, right? The one that belonged to the kid who got expelled? What even happened to him? There were rumors, but no one's really said anything trustworthy." "Mineta? Yeah," Izuku nods with a grimace. "I'd tell you, but I think there's an investigation going on. I don't know what's allowed to be said and what isn't, but he wasn't a very good guy. Most of us were really glad to have him gone. Anyways, I think the door's unlocked so we can look inside." Izuku lets Hitoshi be the one to turn the knob to the room next door, but he does follow the other boy in. The dorm furniture is all still set up as Mineta had arranged it. Izuku faintly remembers from where they'd done tours of everyone's rooms when they'd first moved in, but it's now lacking all the decor and personality he remembers Mineta having. A lot less lewd female pro-hero merch. "It's nice," Hitoshi offers as he steps over to the balcony doors. "Spacious, too, and it doesn't look like a perv did much damage. I like the balcony, makes the place feel bigger." Izuku nods along, glancing around Mineta's old room. It's not much different than Izuku's own, but he can't say it wouldn't have been nice to have a corner unit. Only one side of neighbors, not that he minded being between Mineta and Todoroki. Todoroki's a very respectful neighbor, and Mineta was all right, too. "I'm happy with it," Hitoshi decides, and then it's Izuku's turn to have his mind started to a stop. He's happy with it. What does that mean? "I like my new neighbor, I know that much. Definitely better than the ones I don't talk to now. And I can rearrange the furniture so it doesn't look so clustered. And, hey, do you think my uncle will be able to hook me up with a new mattress? I don't trust sleeping on anything that perverted grape slept on. Who knows what he did on there. I'd rather just throw myself off that balcony." "He says things like that, but I'm the raunchy one? Figures," Oboro huffs, leaning against the door frame. "So, you figured out your surprise yet, Izuku?" "You're moving in here?" Izuku gapes, wide eyes turning to Hitoshi. Hitoshi turns toward him with a cocked eyebrow and a light teasing smile. "What gave me away?" "Don't be sarcastic now," Izuku scolds, even as he smiles widely at the information as it sinks in. "What do you mean? You're really moving in here? Into the 1A dorms? This dorm? We'll be neighbors? What? When? Wait, why?" "That tends to be what happens when you transfer classes." Hitoshi grins, his own excitement shining through despite how he tries to hide it. "Nezu finally approved my heroics transfer. Uncle Cho's been petitioning my ability to transfer, even though I didn't even place in the sports festival. He's been working on this since the sports festival happened, and it's finally happening." "It's really happening?" Izuku's bouncing on his toes. "Seriously? Hitoshi, that's amazing. I'm so excited for you. You've been waiting for so long, and I know you've been working so hard. This is awesome." "Thanks." Hitoshi beams. It's almost an odd expression on Hitoshi's usually neutral face, but Izuku decides that he likes seeing the awestruck, excited look. "I didn't think it would be a possibility this year, since no one's been expelled until that grape, and I didn't place in the sports festival. Uncle Sho said they'd keep trying, but it wasn't a hopeful thing, you know? I thought I'd have to kick your ass next year to get noticed." Wait. Izuku finally settles on the whole of his feet. "How are you able to transfer? I thought that they only did that after the sports festival. I mean, they're rare, definitely. Wasn't Shota one of the last Gen Ed transfers into heroics? How's this even possible? Why now?" "This is where it gets interesting," Hitoshi tells him smugly, settling against the edge of the desk. "All might vouch for me to Nezu. Talked about how useful my quirk is, and how the school is letting my potential go to waste by having me in Gen Ed. He requested the transfer after the spot in 1A opened. Nezu even said that All Might brought up the idea before the grape guy got expelled. He did? Izuku gasps. No way, I'm so happy for you. You really do deserve to be in this class. Ro told me about what you did that day, and Shoto and Hisashi did too. It was incredible. The school has really been sleeping on how insanely powerful your quirk is. Just think of what you can do with actual quirk training. Yeah. Hitoshi huffs a pleased breath. I suspect it's got to do with that weird-ass villain who worked with the guys who kidnapped you in Bakugo. I mean, the #1 hero personally requested my transfer. I must have done something right. Yeah, well, that was really dangerous, though. Izuku chides lightly. He knows he has no room to talk, but it still feels like he needs to remind Hitoshi. That villain was no joke. I mean, I saw All Might struggling, and you could have gotten into big trouble for unlicensed quirk usage. It wasn't very much fun. But it was really cool, Oboro chimes in from the doorway. It was super dangerous, though. I swear, my heart stopped in my chest when I heard the voice that day. Yeah, trust me, I've heard all this before. My mom and Uncle Sho still haven't... Hitoshi freezes, eyes shooting to Izuku, when he gapes in surprise as his eyebrows slowly arch in interest. Hang on. When did you get in trouble for unlicensed quirk usage? Izuku tenses, staring wide-eyed at the other teen. Confidential. Confidential, yes, that's right. It's confidential. Thank you, Ro. Izuku sucks in a relieved breath, rubbing at the back of his neck as he turns to smile sheepishly at Hitoshi. Sorry, Hitoshi, but it's very confidential. Very. Oboro rolls his eyes fondly. You'd be so lost without me, man. Boo. Hitoshi puckers his lips. That's no fun. Even now that I'm technically a 1A student, too. Come on, help a new kid out. Let me in on a 1A's secret. Well, most of 1A actually doesn't know what happened. Izuku nervously shuffles on his feet as he avoids catching Hitoshi's eyes in fear that he'll just crack instead. And I'm not really allowed to say anything. We could both get in trouble. I shouldn't have even mentioned it. Relax. Hitoshi shakes his head with a half-easy smile. I won't push, and the secret's safe with me. No one in 1A will find out about your less-than-legal escapades. Oboro snorts a bright laugh at that as he tries to hide behind his hand. That's hilarious. It was a less-than-legal escapade between you, Tenya, and Todoroki. Izuku looks away from the ghost sharply, then looks away from a proud-looking Hitoshi. He just knows his entire face is lit up in a flush. It wasn't like that. Just let it go, the ghost tells him as his laughter dies down. Shouldn't you be finishing up that tour anyways? Oh, right, the tour, Izuku gasps. I still have to show you the communal showers, and then we've got to go upstairs to the apartment before Shota comes looking for us. Well, lead the way then, tour guide. Hitoshi shrugs, leading Izuku out of the room. I also have communal showers in my dorm, though, so if you want to skip it, we can. Plus, I won't even be moving until this weekend. Oh, Izuku tilts his head in question. When do you start classes with us? Not really for a while. I mean, I'll be a part of your core subject classes just because all first years have the exact same curriculum, but I won't be starting heroics classes with you for a while. I'll be working with Uncle Sho while you're all away on internship since I can't participate in those without a provisional license. Oh. Izuku frowns as they trek up the stairs side by side. Hitoshi shakes his head with a light smile. There's another exam in about a month, a big one held in Tokyo that Uncle Sho hopes to take me to if everything goes to plan, so hopefully I won't be too far behind. That'll give me some time to play catch-up if I work extra hard. I may even get my license before Kachan. He'd probably punch you if he heard you call him that. Izuku bites back a smile. And that's not really the type of motivation that'll get you a hero license. Motivation's motivation, Hitoshi shrugs. Whatever gets me to where I need to be to get that license, and you can't tell me it wouldn't be a little bit funny. The Gen Ed kid, months behind your class, getting a license before the egotistical blockhead who claimed supremacy during the sports festival. It is pretty funny. Oboro chimes, which earns him a glare from Izuku. What? It is! The ghost huffs when he notices the glare, hands lifting in surrender. He's right. Uh-huh, Izuku snorts. Neither of you like Kachan, I get it. Admit it, it would be funny. Hitoshi bumps his shoulder against Izuku's until the green-haired teen cracks a smile. You think it's funny, come on, admit it now, you smiled. Okay. Izuku bites the bottom of his lip to keep from smiling. That may be a little funny, but it's still mean. He's mean, too, Oboro reminds, keeping pace with him. I know that, you know that, Hitoshi knows that, and he's only met the guy like twice. I'll be nice to him when he's nice to me. Hitoshi shrugs. And we both know that won't happen. We don't all have the same kill-him-with-kindness mentality, nice guy thing that you have. If he's going to be an asshole to me, I'm going to return the favor. That... Okay, well, that's actually fair. Just remember he's trying to be nicer, all right? And that's a terrifying thought. Hitoshi furrows his brow, glancing sideways. This is his nice? He called me eye bags when he passed me in the hallway the other day. Then he told me to get out of his way. You really are too nice for your own good, if you believe him. Let's just stop talking about Kachan. Izuku gives a nervous laugh. Anyways, we're at the apartment, so you... He glances at Oboro, knowingly. Shush. You're so mean to your ghost, Hitoshi accuses playfully, eyebrow quirking in amusement. Yeah, Oboro grins. You are. Izuku just lets out a groan, opening the apartment door. Get inside. It's late when Izuku stumbles into the kitchen. He's hoping to find a box of chamomile tea hidden in the cupboard, maybe even a box of Yaoyorozu's nice teas that he'll apologize for having some of and thank her excessively for tomorrow morning, should he find it. He's just so restless, tossing and turning in bed. He'd been trying to sleep for the past 2 hours and hasn't been successful. It's been a long time since he'd struggled with insomnia like this, and it reminds him of how much he hates it. As he walks toward the kitchen, he can't help but notice the light that's off and flickering. He fists at his eyes just to see if he's not seeing things when the light shuts off again. He pauses for just a second in surprise, blinking as the light turns back on. What is happening in there? The light shuts off again with a light click of the light switch, and Izuku forces himself to move, stepping close to the doorway so he can peer in. He's not expecting to find a frantic Kaminari frozen in the middle of the room, glaring up wide-eyed at the lighting fixture. Kaminari's attention whips toward the doorway, where the floor squeaks under Izuku's weight. Kaminari looks scared, but relief settles in his gaze when he identifies his classmate. Midoriya! The other boy sucks in as he sees Izuku peering in. The building's haunted. It's too late for this. He just wants some tea and some sleep. What? The lights, Kaminari insists, looking up toward the light fixture. I turned them on. I gotta be able to see. I was just trying to sneak some of Kiri's Pocky, but right when I go to grab the box, boom, I'm in the dark. So I do what anyone would. I question if that really just happened, because a light turning off by itself is insane, so I pretend it never happened and I turn it back on. Izuku wrinkles his nose in thought. He doesn't even need to look further into the room, to the side where the light switch is, to know someone's there with it. But Midoriya. The golden-haired teen steps closer, voice dropping like someone could be hearing him. And something is, if the poorly contained giggles are anything to go by. Listen, it happened again, 4 times. That can't be a fluke. I turned the light back on, and something turns them off. The building's haunted. I'm calling it. We need to move. Kaminari. Izuku glances around the kitchen before dragging his fingers up through his curls. Calm down a little. Take a breath. You don't believe me, Kaminari squawks, glaring up at the ceiling. Come on, Ghosty. Show Mito the lights. Come on. Work with me, Ghost. Show him. What the hell? I'm serious, Midoriya. The lights were... I believe you, Izuku insists, finally stepping into the room, enough that he can shoot the ghost with a shit-eating grin, a subtle glare. Listen, ghosts are just assholes. Hey! Oboro makes a wounded sound. And from my best friend, too. They like to mess with you. I'm sure this ghost is just a prankster, right? A prankster ghost? Kaminari shoots Izuku an uncertain look. How do you know? And wait, how do you know so much about ghosts? One of the, houses I lived in when I was little had a ghost. It's the truth. Izuku vividly remembers an older woman that had lived in the same small house Izuku remembers living in with his mother and father when he was tiny. It was a year or so before he was diagnosed quirkless, and his father left them. It's that strange period of time where he'd started to be able to recall things, but not entirely. This is one of his solid memories, though. The woman was old, like she'd died over 100 years ago. Izuku remembers his mother and father talking about the house's history, because it, too, was over 100 years old. It was the last time they had ever lived in a house or a complex that wasn't newly built. The ghost had meant no harm. She was mostly just interested in the modern technology, mainly the television in the living room. Izuku always saw her studying it, and sometimes she'd even try to make it turn on as well. She was kind enough, grandmotherly to him, but tight about respect and rules. Izuku knows now, when he thinks back to how she'd spoken and regarded him, that it was a generational difference. It was like really haunted, he continues lightly, looking away from how Kaminari was studying him thoughtfully. They turn lights on and off and turn the TV on sometimes. I don't think that they ever meant to scare me, just I think they were bored, you know. Never meant anything bad. Most ghosts don't, I don't think, still. It never really happened with my mom in the room, just me. To be fair, Oboro calls Izuku's attention. The green-haired teen glances over quickly. I did mean to scare him, but I am bored. Nothing happens at night, especially when Shota doesn't have patrol. I just finished my book while you were trying to sleep. That's pretty scary, Midoriya. Kaminari offers, looking skeptically around the room like he'll spot Oboro. It's also pretty cool. I've never seen a ghost before. Didn't really believe until, now. You really think this ghost is just playing, no harm? Only ever emotional harm, Izuku drawls, letting a small smile curl onto his lips so Kaminari knows he's kidding, mostly. The green-haired teen lets out a tiny laugh as he rubs at the back of his neck, still glancing around cautiously. Izuku continues anyways. They really can be jerks, though, but yeah, they're probably just messing with you. I mean, it stopped when I got here, right? Oh, yeah. Kaminari still looks spooked, but his tense shoulders relax a bit. All right, you're the ghost expert, right? I mean, that story is wild, whereas I've never seen a ghost before. This will totally take some getting used to, and I just know that no one's going to believe me tomorrow. Ghosts really are jerks. No offense, Ghost. You're cool. We're cool. Please don't haunt me. Man, I love the gullible ones. Oboro teases, finally stepping away from the light switch. He hadn't touched it since Izuku arrived, but the grin on the ghost's face can't mean anything good. Oboro gives Izuku one of those squinty-eyed grins as he reaches up and closes the cupboard that Kaminari had been searching through. It's not a loud noise by any means, but it does still echo through the night. Kaminari jolts in surprise, swirling around to stare open-mouthed at the now-shut cupboard. Did that just... The other boy swallows, glancing back at Izuku. You know what? I need to go to sleep now. I clearly angered the kitchen ghost, and I am sorry for that. I won't take anyone else's snacks, I swear. I'll be good. Don't haunt me. Kaminari backs away to the doorway, not taking his eyes off of the cupboard that shut by itself. Good night, Midoriya. Be careful, and don't touch Kiri's Pocky, whatever you do. I won't. Izuku bites back an amused snort, instead shooting his friend a small half-smile. Good night. Kaminari flees the kitchen just after that. He looks back once, scanning the kitchen like he'll spot a ghost just before disappearing through the doorway. Izuku waits a minute, listening for any footsteps receding before turning fully to where Oboro had settled himself on the counter in front of the cupboard that he shut. Seriously? What? The ghost raises his hands in surrender. Is it wrong for a guy to have a bit of fun? No. Izuku wrinkles his nose as he beelines for the cabinet that houses the teas and other various drinks, instant coffee, coffee grounds, and protein powder. He digs through the neat lines of tea boxes, finding the chamomile. It is wrong, however, for a guy having fun to do so by scaring the people in the middle of the night. That's cruel. I just wanted to scare him a bit. Oboro huffs, eyes following Izuku as he moves to the dishes cupboard. The teen pulls out his favorite mug. I saw him sneaking around in here, and I just wanted to spook him a bit. Plus, it was a little funny. I might have gone a little overboard, but his reactions were hilarious. The blondes are always the gullible ones. Hizashi's blonde. And he's exactly who I was talking about. Oboro snickers. You know, all this makes you sound like a jerk, Izuku accuses with a shake of his head. Kaminari now thinks that you're some scary, angry, Pocky guardian spirit that he's pissed off by trying to take some of Kirishima's snacks, which he doesn't mind sharing, by the way. What were you even doing walking around out here? You were reading when I went to bed, so when you were gone, you're usually with Shota and Hizashi. Why the kitchen? I've taken up night patrol around here, Oboro tells him, chest puffing out. It gives me something to do when everyone's asleep, a job to do, and if I find anything, I'll report it to you, and you can report it to Shota. Smart, right? So you're the 1A dorm warden now, but when students are out of their beds past curfew, you scare the shit out of them? Izuku shoots the ghost an unimpressed look as he fills the kettle. You're going to get yourself in trouble. What if Kaminari tells Shota? Shota doesn't believe in ghosts, Oboro tells him confidently. And the rest of my class? Hizashi? Izuku arches an eyebrow as he waits for the kettle to boil. Oboro wilts. You can't just scare them at night, and not repeatedly. You can mess with them a bit. There's really no harm in that, especially when the ghost rumor surely is going to spread now, but don't genuinely scare them. That's not cool. So, should I apologize to Kaminari? Oboro asks seriously, looking scolded and a bit worried. And how would you do that? Izuku snorts tiredly, pouring the boiling water into his cup. I think a ghost apologizing to him would scare him more. Just rein it in a little. Test the waters before jumping in. Some people are scared of ghosts. They shouldn't be scared to live in the dorms. Right. Oboro nods seriously, thoughtfully. I never meant to actually scare anyone. I just guess I forget living customaries after watching for so long. I just get excited with some of those students that are around all the time. There's always something going on, so many people around. Please don't stalk the students. Izuku frowns. Me, Sho, and Zashi are fair game. Hitoshi and Kachan too, since they at least know of your existence, but don't be weird. Got it. Oboro pouts. I'll behave. Thank you. Izuku bows his head gratefully. The ghost pauses, chewing at his bottom lip as Izuku finally sips his tea. I guess that means I can't write I'm sorry in the mirror condensation after Kaminari showers. Izuku chokes on a sip of tea, coughing out a panicked, No! Hitoshi starts classes with them the Monday after he moves into the dorms. The class is ecstatic, most of them, to have a new 20th classmate, which will eventually even out all the partners and the small group exercises they do in class. Izuku's just glad that Hitoshi lives next door to him and that he's in the chair behind him during class. It's nice to have such a close, living friend around. He loves Ida, Uraraka, Asui, and Todoroki, but he hadn't managed to get as close to them as he had to Hitoshi and Oboro. Maybe it's because Hitoshi already knows his secrets about Izuku's parental situation and the ghost-seeing thing. He trusts his friends, and he really loves hanging out with them, but it's just easier to relax around Hitoshi and Oboro, and Kachan, but Izuku still wouldn't count them as friends. It's homeroom class now, and Shota had promptly settled against the wall in his sleeping bag after delivering the morning announcements. It's one of those rare mornings when no one really has anything to do. All their assignments are due in the following period, so everyone just sort of sits. It's Uraraka who throws the first paper ball. Well, she's the first to wad it up, use her quirk on it, and bat it gently in the direction of the trash can before actually letting her hold on the quirk drop. The paper ball lands perfectly in the can. Sero is the first to really throw a paper ball toward the trash can, overthrowing it completely so the paper ball hits the wall and bounces to the floor behind the can. He pouts. That was fucking terrible. Kachan snaps, his chin rested in his palm, glaring at Sero. Like to see you do better, Sero huffs, gesturing to the trash can in a be-my-guest sort of way. Kachan grits his teeth, balls up a loose sheet of paper from his backpack, and he launches it toward the trash can. He hits the rim, but misses. I got closer than you, and I'm further away. I'd like to see you shitty extras do any better. And that's what really sparks the paper toss event. All of their classmates try their luck at tossing paper balls into the trash can. Some make it in. Aoyama, who sits directly behind the bin, manages by leaning forward to ensure his ball makes it, while others undershoot or overshoot. Koda undershoots, to the point that his paper ball bounces off of Mina's head. He apologizes frantically in sign language, and Shoji overshoots his strength to the point that his paper ball bounces off the can and settles by Shota on the floor. The class stares at the ball, all holding in a collective breath to see if it disturbs the teacher or not. Shota doesn't move. Izuku knows the man isn't asleep, and he's surprised that Shota hasn't said anything about the obvious game in loud whispers. It's not productive or logical, but everyone's getting along and they're being relatively quiet. He's listening to them, though, probably making sure that nothing gets out of hand. The game continues after a silent moment where Shota doesn't move. Izuku takes his turn and misses. He's not really trying, just playing along. Kachan snorts a laugh through his nose, but it doesn't feel mean. Oboro still glares heatedly at him. Yaoyorozu goes after Izuku, getting close to the bin when she stands up for more of an angle, but doesn't manage to get it in. She smiles anyways as she sits down. No one's being heckled since few students have actually made it. Izuku can't help but think it's nice. Everyone's just getting along, an easy game where they don't need quirks, where no one is any more powerful than the person to follow after them. Sato and Jiro both go, which then leaves Hitoshi. I don't know about this. Hitoshi glances at the trash can. He's the only one who hadn't prepared a paper ball for his turn. Come on, Ashido eggs him on. Show us what you've got, new kid. He's not new, Izuku frowns, turning to glance across the room at Ashido. Just a transfer. A lot of us worked with him during the sports festival. Yeah, right, Uraraka agrees with a bob of her head. We've been having lunch with Shinzo-kun for weeks now. Just because you haven't talked to him doesn't mean he's new. New to us, then, Hagakure giggles, the sleeve of her uniform flapping like she's waving a dismissive hand. Everyone else is gone, and homeroom will be over soon. He won't be able to try if Sensei wakes up, so you've got to hurry. Hitoshi frowns, looking like he wants to decline. Izuku will back him up if he does, but he doesn't know why the purple-haired teen would do that. It's just throwing a paper ball. Toshi can't throw a ball to save his life. Oboro explains as if he can hear Izuku's thoughts, sitting cross-legged on the entirety of Izuku's desktop. He'd been watching the game quietly, unmoving from his position. He's never been able to. Not well, at least. No amount of practice has helped. The capture weapon he's working with is completely different. Nothing like blindly throwing a ball like this. There's no way he'll make it from the back corner. The ghost pauses, looking thoughtfully between the paper ball Hitoshi had just scrunched up, and is now glaring thoughtfully at it, and the trash can across the room. Unless... Hang on. Izuku watches as Oboro slips off the desktop, and he's following the ghost with just his eyes. Oboro studies the ball, hands tucked in his pocket. Then he pulls a hand out and pinches the loose end of the paper ball between his fingers. Izuku turns his head to Hitoshi when the teen shudders, wide eyes staring in front of him just before jerking his attention desperately to Izuku for confirmation. The green-haired teen offers a tiny nod. Hitoshi forces himself to relax, settling back and letting the ghost continue, even with a perplexed expression. "Hey, Izu, want to see something cool?" Oboro asks with a grin, and Izuku gives the ghost a little nod, eyeing him skeptically. "Then tell him to throw it. I'll do the rest. It'll go in, I promise." "I think you can make it, Hitoshi," Izuku tells him, loud enough for the class to see. "Don't be modest. We both know you have perfect aim." "Zuku, Hitoshi pauses sharply. He stares at Izuku in the eyes for a long second, scrutinizing Izuku's expression before looking in front of where Oboro's still standing. His fist tightens around the wad of paper, shooting Izuku a trusting look, before laughing sheepishly. "I mean, I didn't want to show off or anything, but if you insist." Izuku's actually interested in what Oboro has planned. He shifts in his seat so that he's facing the classroom instead of the front of the room, and he watches closely. Hitoshi sucks in a breath before arching his arms back. Oboro, who still hadn't released his grip on the loose edge of the paper ball, stretches with Hitoshi's arch back as well. Hitoshi launches the ball, and Izuku's sure it would have gone sideways if it weren't for Oboro guiding it upward and following it through the air weightlessly. Izuku had known logically that Oboro could float, that he had no mass or a body, so therefore he was able to do such things, but that doesn't prepare him for seeing such a feat. Oboro has a habit of walking instead of floating around. Izuku had honestly forgotten he was capable of this. The paper flying across the room must look natural enough, because no one questions it as it drops perfectly into the trash can, where Oboro releases his grip. Izuku blinks in surprise before whipping back to look at Hitoshi. He looks just as shocked. Before the class manages to shake their awe and turn to look at Hitoshi, Izuku shoves Hitoshi's desk just enough to jostle him out of his stupor. Even as he forces his expression back to neutral, he still looks ecstatic that it had gone in, ghost interference or not. "Whoa!" Uraraka's the one to break the amazed silence. "That was amazing, Shinzo-kun." "Yeah," Kirishima nods enthusiastically. "That was so manly. Shin, bro, how'd you even do that? It was like perfect." "No fucking way." Kachan snaps, palm slamming on the desktop. He doesn't move from his seat, despite how he turns to glare at Hitoshi. "There's no way that Eyebags just threw that perfectly. Not from where he's sitting. Noodle Arms doesn't look like he's thrown a ball ever." "Aren't you pleasant?" Hitoshi replies dryly, leaning back in his seat. "Looks can be deceiving." "Kachan!" Izuku scolds under his breath. "It's not nice." "Can it, nerd?" "I don't know, Bakugo." Kaminari shrugs. "Looked pretty legit to me. I think Shinso just has a good arm." "And none of our classmates have a quirk that could have aided him, so I don't see how it could have been rigged. Shinso-kun's quirk is brainwashed, nothing anti-gravity or agility-wise," Yayorozu adds factually. "What can I say?" Hitoshi laughs easily, eyes are alit with awe. "It's a talent." "It's a fluke is what it is, Eyebags." Kachan narrows his eyes. "Do it again if it's natural talent. If you can't, it was just a fluke. Just shitty luck." "Technically, it would be amazing luck," Ida corrects dryly, to which Kachan curls his lips into a snarl, directed at the class rep in the room. "And please, watch your language. We're young heroes in training. We must always behave as such." "Whatever, glasses." Kachan snaps as he returns his glare to Hitoshi. "Well, you taking a reshot, or are you going to admit that it was a fluke?" "That's actually a pretty fair ask," Ojiro comments from his seat. "I mean, it was amazing the first time, but can you score a second?" Hitoshi looks toward Izuku, startled at the request, and his eyes are pleading. Izuku lulls his attention toward Oboro, a silent question in his gaze. Oboro's already looking at Izuku like he'd been waiting for the question to arise. The ghost grins triumphantly. "I'm going to make Toshi a 1A star." Hitoshi makes 3 more perfect trash can goals, each time Oboro flies through the air with each wadded-up ball of paper, and the class watches on bated breath before cheering. It really would be amazing if Izuku could see the ghost soaring through the classroom to slam-dunk the paper into the bin. By the 3rd perfect throw, the class believes that Hitoshi is an expert thrower. Or that he just has amazing aim. Oboro is puffed up at the praise that Hitoshi's receiving, and Izuku's just happy that both of his friends are having a good time working together. "This doesn't look very productive." Shota's monotone voice startles everyone. He's curled up in his sleeping bag, but his eyes are open and he's scanning the students thoughtfully. His face isn't angry or upset, just indifferent. Izuku swears he even sees amusement in that neutral expression. "Ah, sensei!" Ida stiffens, straightening his form. I apologize for allowing my classmates to partake in such a... Just make sure there's no paper on the floor by the time the bell rings. Each paper ball I find will be 5 laps during heroics this afternoon. Don't let them stack up, if you don't want to do anything besides running today. The man's words have those closest to any ball of paper diving to pick them up. Izuku takes the chaos as an opportunity to turn to a smirking Hitoshi. That was so fucking cool. Hitoshi's near vibrating as he whispers to Izuku. Bro is amazing. One thinks I'm athletic. Can you believe that? Me? Athletic? Pfft. I am, aren't I? Oboro preens at the praise, leaning against Izuku's desk as he flashes Hitoshi a wide grin. Just let him know the next time he's throwing stuff that he's on his own. I'm not a show pony. This was just to get him into 1A's good books because I've seen that pathetic throw. Kid never would have lived it down. I mean, he probably would have ended up tossing it backwards by accident. Izuku can't help but wonder if Hitoshi really is that awful at throwing. Maybe they should play catch at some point. Well, Izuku snorts a laugh between his hands. You will be athletic when Shota gets his hands on you in an actual class where you're assigned as a student. He takes our education very seriously. He, won't really be your uncle when he's making you run till you dry heave. He's tough on the kids in class. I'm definitely going to die then. Hitoshi groans, letting his forehead thump against the desktop. He's hard on me as an uncle. He'll be insufferable to me as a teacher. He'll probably get a kick out of it too, sadist. That he definitely is. Oboro agrees lightly, as he glances fondly to where Shota is finally unfurling from his sleeping bag. He'll be super tough on Toshi, too, since he's so far behind the class. Plus, at school, Yuuei can't bully Shota for bullying Hitoshi. He's got free reign and will take advantage of it. Well, if I know Shota, at least. And trust me, I know Shota. Izuku laughs, trying to turn and face forward again, even as Hitoshi jerks up. Oh, God. Hitoshi groans louder, lifting his head so that he's looking at Izuku, chin on the edge of his desk. What did he say? You're screwed, Izuku offers with a half-smile thrown over his shoulder. Sorry. Oboro plays a lot of games with the kids living in the dorms. Izuku knows it. He doesn't even need to ask Oboro about it because there's literally no other explanation. He's messing with them. He's really thriving having so many people around, but Izuku can't really say anything because he has taken a step back from scaring. The ghost's current favorite game is moving objects. I call it lost and found. The ghost had laughed as Kacchan searched angrily for his missing earbud. Oboro had swiped it from the open case as Kacchan had looked down as he searched through his pockets for something. You'll never guess where I hid that. He certainly won't. It was in Kacchan's shoe at the door. He didn't find it until the next day when he stepped on it. You can't put people's things in places they'll get broken or never found again. Izuku had scolded that night after having to endure a livid Kacchan all day. I feel bad enough that you broke it that I might replace it. Why does it feel like I'm constantly babysitting? You're older than me by 15 years. Okay. Oboro pouts, not looking up from his book. I won't hide anything extra good anymore, even if Bakugo deserves it for his poor attitude. And just so you know, that was my second hiding place. But even I thought the toilet bowl was a little too mean. New rule. Izuku snorts, staring up at the ceiling. No hiding anything in the toilet bowl. That's gross. The earbud wasn't the end of the game. Oboro stole 12 of Jiro's guitar picks. 12. Consecutively. Each time she'd lose one and grab another, he'd take the new one and then when she wasn't looking, and the cycle would just continue. Those were found in a neat little stack under the dining room table. He kept stealing carrots from Kota's rabbit, which in turn leads the rabbit all throughout the dorms. That one was an accident. Oboro only lost the rabbit once. The class still spent 3 hours looking for the bunny, who was just ignoring Kota's calls. Oboro steals a book from Ida that ends up in Uraraka's room, and bracelet that ends up in Ida's room. It's a good thing that Ida has a name in all of his books, and everyone's seen Uraraka wearing that specific bracelet. They're both confused as they exchange the missing belongings. Kirishima loses a bandana that's later found in the boys' communal bathrooms. The poor guy gaslights himself into thinking he left it there, even if he remembers wearing it that morning and showering the night before. A candle goes missing from Tokiyami's room, and Dark Shadow insists that it was stolen. That's later found under Tokiyami's bed, and he just assumes that it rolled off his desk. Dark Shadow does not agree. Very vocally does not agree. Sato's favorite wooden spoon goes missing next, but that's later found at the communal kitchen's fridge. Sato looks bewildered, but decides that he probably left it in there himself at some point. At some point or another, Oboro manages to take something from each of Izuku's classmates and rehome it. Sometimes it's noticed right away, and other times it's not noticed until it's found. You know, Izuku says without looking up. Oboro's at Izuku's desk, watching an old movie on Izuku's laptop. The ghost makes a noise in reply. You've got a klepto problem. You do know that, right? I haven't been caught yet. the ghost tells him smugly. You're a ghost, Izuku reminds him in a deadpan. No one can actually see you stealing their things. Good point. Oboro finally looks back, lips puckered. Actually, it's kind of boring now anyways. No more surprise, you know? And I think if I take anything else, your classmates will start blaming each other, and I don't want that. That's no fun. Plus, I'm sort of surprised I got away with it for so long. Again, you're a ghost, Izuku snorts out. There's no way that you wouldn't get away with it. Oboro laughs, leaning back in the desk chair. Yeah, true, but now I just need to think of some new way to be a menace without scaring anyone. Any ideas? You're on your own, Izuku shakes his head. Just be a nice menace and no wrecking anyone's property or school property, and you're still banned from the bathroom. Sheesh, Oboro laughs. Anything else? No, that covers it for now. Izuku shakes his head, looking back down at his phone. Oboro follows his lead, looking back toward his film. Oh, and Oboro. Izuku sees the ghost turn to look at him out of the corner of his eye, but he doesn't look up. He stares sharply down at the phone screen. Swiping through the app he's in, he pauses for a moment. Oboro cocks his head in confusion at the delay. Where's my All Might figurine? All right, everyone. This concludes Chapter 36 of Yuuei Survival Guide. Chapter 37 will be next. I hope you guys are still enjoying, and as always, thank you all so much for listening.